The chamber was large and bright, filled with voices, flashing lights, and tension that hung in the air like smoke. Delegates from every major race in the galaxy sat around a glowing table. The seats were built high and wide, shaped for beings of many kinds, slimy, scaled, tall, or shadowy. But only one seat was empty, the seat that once belonged to Earth. For a moment, everyone was quiet. Then, a soft sound came from the hallway footsteps. Slow, calm. 3 humans entered the chamber, wearing dark suits with no flags or symbols. No guards followed, no ships waited outside, just the 3 of them. One of the council leaders, a tall insect-like creature with glassy black eyes, clicked its mandibles. We were told Earth had nothing more to say. The humans said nothing. Another alien, from the high-gravity world of Vras, rumbled from its place. "Are you here to beg for your seat back? You should have stayed quiet, Terrans." Still, no answer. The lead human, a woman with gray hair and sharp eyes, walked to the center of the room. She placed a small metal disc on the table. It glowed once, then went still. "We are not here to speak," she said calmly. "We are here to—" "Walk away," gasps. Laughter, shock. "You walk away." The insect creature clicked. "You cannot walk away. Earth is bound to the council." The human woman looked around slowly, her eyes meeting every face in the room. "Earth is bound by nothing." Before anyone could reply, she turned. The other 2 followed. Together they walked back through the wide doors without a second glance. No anger, no speeches, just quiet steps that echoed behind them. For several seconds no one moved. Then, the silence broke into noise-mocking, shouting, arguing. "They think they're too good for us. Let them leave. Fools, they'll be crawling back within cycles." But not everyone laughed. A young alien sat near the far edge of the room. Small, with deep green eyes and short gray skin, he worked as a junior advisor to the Council of Trade. His name was Sarl, and unlike the others, he didn't speak. He had watched the humans closely. He had listened to the silence. And in that silence, he heard something no one else did. The humans were not angry. They were done. That night, Sorel couldn't sleep. He sat by the large windows of the capital's sky tower, looking out at the stars. Earth's fleet was gone. No sign, no trails, as if it had vanished. He opened a data screen. Reports were already pouring in. A merchant system near the edge of council space was experiencing malfunctions. Trade routes that relied on Terran A's were showing delays. A science station built with human tech was reporting strange bug systems locking, maps glitching, artificial gravity flickering. Sorel leaned forward, uneasy. The council had never truly understood how much they relied on Earth. Humans had quietly helped manage navigation routes, AI logic, medicine databases, even translation systems. It wasn't power, it was order. They didn't try to control others, they just made things work. Now Earth was gone. In the following days, more strange things happened. Communication between key sectors slowed. Galactic translation updates failed. A medical hub sent a desperate message. Their human-engineered virus filters were breaking down, and no one knew how to fix them. The council ignored most of it. They blamed pirates, bugs, faulty coding, but Cyril kept reading, kept watching, and the more he learned, the more he felt it. Something was starting, something quiet and big. He remembered the last words spoken by the Terran woman. "We are here to walk away." That wasn't a warning, it was a promise, and the galaxy had no idea what was coming next. Asterisk. Lights flickered above the quiet control deck of Station Mirror Season, important relay hub orbiting the trade-rich planet of Telvon Prime. For years, Mirror Season had run perfectly, thanks to a silent partnership with Earth's systems. Its central core was built on Terran code, elegant and clean. It managed thousands of trade signals, routes, and safety protocols for ships passing through that sector of space. But tonight, for the first time in decades, it stuttered. Captain Vel, a seasoned operator from the insectoid Thul species, sat frozen in her chair as red lights blinked where green ones had always glowed. "Navigation array offline," the system announced in a low, calm voice. "Backup denied. Human support system not found." The last part made Vel shift uncomfortably. Human support. She had never even known there was any human tech on board, but now that it was gone, the absence was louder than any alarm. Across the galaxy, other systems were starting to feel the same silence. In Sector J-22, a merchant convoy of 8 ships vanished without warning. They had followed a trade path long stabilized by Terran gravitational buoys devices Earth had placed and maintained without much recognition. No signal, no trace. The only thing left was a burst of static and one message from the lead ship. "Something's wrong with the stars." The council tried to respond quickly. They ordered replacements, redirected patrols, and activated older, non-human systems, but nothing worked the same. On the diplomatic world of Siren, translators failed during a high-level meeting. The delegates from 4 species could no longer understand one another. The council's language system, it turned out, used Terran-built matrices that updated weekly. Without Earth's quiet support, even basic understanding between allies began to crumble. At first the council didn't panic. They believed this was temporary. Small glitches, minor setbacks, but then a major power grid collapsed on a peaceful, industrial planet, one that had used Earth's solar conversion tech for energy. The entire northern hemisphere lost power. Factories shut down. Water purification systems froze. Local leaders sent calls for help, but the council's response was slow and confused. Earth's engineers had always handled these things. Now no one remembered how the systems truly worked. The citizens of that planet lit candles. Some looked up at the sky. Many whispered Earth's name with confusion, and something close to fear. In a quiet corner of the council archives, Cyril, a junior advisor, sat surrounded by data. His small hands tapped quickly, eyes racing across hundreds of reports. Power failures, missing ships, diplomatic errors, trade collapses. Everything pointed to one thing. Humanity had not just left, they had unplugged. Cyril leaned back in his chair, thinking of the words Earth's representative had said. Not a threat, not an order, just a choice. We are here to walk away. What made it worse was how peaceful it all was. There were no loud warnings, no displays of force, just silence, followed by cracks. The council called an emergency session. Leaders argued. Some demanded Earth's return. Others refused to believe humans were responsible. It's coincidence, barked one delegate. They didn't control everything. But another, more thoughtful voice replied, no, they didn't control, they supported. And support, once removed, leaves a fall that no one expects. On the fourth day, a deep space telescope caught a strange signal from beyond the known borders. A single Terran vessel had been detected silent, still, and unregistered. It was just watching. The report was quickly buried. Meanwhile, Cyril tried to trace Earth's exit path, but nothing worked. Their ships had left no trails. Their data was locked. Even the quantum channels used for emergency contact with Earth returned only one response. A quiet hum and a fading light dot in the shadows. Smaller species started asking questions. Why did Earth really leave? Did they plan something? Or was this galaxy simply not worth saving anymore? Cyril couldn't answer. But deep down, he felt something strange. Earth hadn't just left the table. They had taken the table with them. A soft wind blew across the fields of Meridas, a peaceful farming planet once known for its bright skies and golden crops. Children laughed as they ran through the tall grain, unaware of the quiet tension building around them. But something felt off. At the edge of the town, the central farming tower had stopped moving. It used to rotate gently, spreading nutrients and filtered water across the growing fields, but now it stood still, its lights dark, its control screen flashing a simple message. Sync error. Human root access missing. No one on Meridas knew what that meant. For generations, they had lived in peace and plenty. Earth had helped design the machines that turned this dry world into a paradise. But after the humans left, small failures began to spread like cracks in glass. First, a few irrigation arms froze. Then the drones stopped responding. The people tried everything: reboots, manual controls, even old-fashioned tools. Nothing worked. The machines were built with deep Terran code, designed to be simple but secure. And now that link was broken. Across the galaxy, more planets started facing similar problems. On the trade world of Jean, 4,000s gathered in the central dome for what was meant to be a public festival. Instead, emergency sirens echoed through the sky. The city's cooling systems had collapsed. Temperature rose by 10 degrees every hour. The Terran systems that balanced the artificial climate had been offline for just 4 days. That was enough to turn paradise into panic. A message was sent to the council. Request immediate support. Human systems failing. We need assistance. No answer came, because the council itself was overwhelmed. Inside its main halls, everything had become chaos. Schedules were broken. Delegates missed meetings due to malfunctioning transport systems. Internal files had vanished or become corrupted. The central database, once protected by Earth's quiet updates, now showed blank sectors. Communications between systems were delayed. Entire fleets were going in the wrong direction due to map failures. Worse, trust was falling apart. Two allied species, the Drail and the Corvins, broke into conflict after a misunderstanding caused by a translation error. Their ancient peace treaty, once maintained by Earth's neutral oversight, was now in doubt, and when one ambassador accused the other of betrayal, the council had no solution. They had always relied on Earth's advisors to handle such delicate matters. Now, diplomacy was phalangal, along with everything else. Some council leaders still refused to admit it. Earth's role was never that important. One said with frustration, they simply offered help. We are strong without them. But that was the lie no one believed anymore. Cyril sat quietly in the back of that meeting, listening. The junior advisor had spent days gathering hidden reports. He saw patterns that others missed. Earth hadn't just offered help, they had created the balance that held the galaxy together, and now that balance was broken. Worse than that, Cyril had noticed something else. The systems weren't failing at random, they were failing in state after the other, as if they had been left to unravel slowly. On his screen, he noticed a faint watermark buried deep in a technical log, a line of Terran code that read, "Assistance ends when understanding fails." Sorel read it 3 times, then whispered to himself. They didn't leave to punish us. They left because we stopped listening. Back on Meritus, food production stopped. The harvest spoiled in the fields. The farmers, confused and desperate, looked to the stars. They had always trusted the council, but now, the council had nothing to give. On John 4, heat waves forced thousands underground. Many whispered the same. Name Earth not in anger, but in longing. In the sky above, one of the ancient Terran satellites blinked once. Its lens focused. Then, slowly, it powered down. The silence left behind felt too loud. Sorel leaned back in his chair and closed his eyes. The humans had not made threats. They didn't raise their voices, but their absence was louder than any warning. The galaxy was learning, too late, that peace is not built on strength alone. Sometimes, peace is the quiet presence of those who care, and when they walk away, everything changes. A soft ripple moved through the council's central tower, a pulse that signaled an incoming message. Everyone paused. For days, maybe weeks, the chamber had been filled with shouting, fear, and confusion. But now, for the first time, there was silence. Hope had returned. The message was short, blinking on the main wall. We request Earth's return. The council is ready to listen. Sorel stood to the side, watching the senior delegates carefully. They had tried everything. Else emergency teams, system resets, even hiring private engineers from less advanced species. Nothing worked. The galaxy was sliding further into quiet collapse. Too many worlds depended on Terran systems, logic, fairness, and presence. Now, finally, they admitted it. Earth's absence had become the loudest voice in the galaxy. The message was sent using the old quantum link, a secure channel designed long ago for Earth alone. That line hadn't been touched in years, not because it didn't work, but because no one thought Earth would ever need distance. The council waited. An hour passed. Then a day, then 3. No reply. Delegates grew restless again. We humbled ourselves, one shouted. We offered full cooperation. Maybe they didn't get the signal, another said. But Cyril knew better. Earth had received it. They were simply choosing not to respond. A whisper spread among the council ranks. Earth is watching. They just don't want to come back. Outside the main hall, small groups of citizens had started to gather, looking up at the sky or checking for news. Some came from distant planets, others from sectors barely holding together. They waited not for council answers, but for a sign that Earth still cared. Then something unexpected happened. A ship was spotted near the edge of known space. Deep beyond the last council beacon, it was unmistakably human. Black hole, sharp design, glowing under minimal power. But it sent no signal, no hail, no message. It floated for hours, then disappeared. The council sent ships to follow it. Nothing was found. 2 days later, another Terran vessel was seen above an abandoned orbital station in Sector 10-9. Same behavior, silent, still observing, then gone. A pattern began. These ships always alone, never armed, never aggressive, appearing across dozens of sectors, not close, not far, just present. As if humanity was reminding the galaxy, we are still here, but we don't belong to you anymore. Cyril grew more curious with each report. He visited the archives, searching for older Terran strategies, and there, buried in an old diplomatic document, he found a single line of Terran philosophy. Silence is not absence. It is awareness without obligation. He sat back in his chair and whispered the words again. The meaning was clear. Earth wasn't ignoring the galaxy. They were simply done fixing what no one wanted to maintain. Back in the council chamber, another message was drafted. This one came from the heart of the council's leadership, not as a command, but as a plea. To Earth, we recognize our failure. We misunderstood your value. We offer full partnership, guided by your wisdom. Please return. The galaxy is weaker without you. The message was sent, and this time, a reply came, but not in words. A strange glow appeared across multiple communication channels. A repeating sequence of lights and tones. Experts decoded it. The result was simple. You chose this. That was it. No promise, no threat, no return dates, just a reminder. Earth had not left in anger. They left because no one listened. And now that they were gone, they were not coming back simply because others had changed their minds. Sorel felt it deeply. This wasn't about revenge. It was about trust. And trust, once broken, could not be fixed with a message or a vote. It needed time. It needed truth. Maybe it needed silence. On a quiet moon far from the council worlds, a child looked up and saw something streak across the stars. A black dot, moving without sound, yet full of purpose. She pointed to the sky. Is that Earth? She asked Otter. Mother said nothing for a long time, then replied gently, maybe, or maybe they're showing us who we were supposed to be. In the quiet that followed, one thing became clear. Earth hadn't turned its back on the galaxy. They had simply stepped away, and the galaxy had never been more aware of what they had lost. A strange silence filled the corridors of the observation wing on Station Illithor. The station floated at the very edge of council-controlled space, near an old Terran trade route that had once connected hundreds of worlds. That route was now quiet. No ships, no signals, just stillness stretching across the stars. But today, something returned. A young technician named Elian sat at his console, sipping his warm drink, when his screen flashed. Not red, not urgent, just a soft blue faint and pulsing. Unregistered, vessel detected, trajectory, unknown. Origin, Earth-class design. Elian leaned closer. No ID, no beacon, no motion, he whispered. Thought the ship was just floating. No engines active, no signal, no response. It was a Terran vessel but unlike any the Council had ever seen. Sleek, matte black, with no visible markings. It wasn't approaching, it was just watching. Within hours, the report reached the Council. Then more reports followed. One from a mining colony in the Zareth system, another from a research station near the Tauva Rim, then one from a moon that had been abandoned for years. All said the same thing. Silent Terran vessels. Not attacking, not responding, just appearing and disappearing. Panic didn't come all at once, but worry grew like a shadow. These are ghost ships, one delegate whispered. They're just showing us they can be anywhere. They haven't harmed anyone, another said. They don't have to. Sorel sat in his quiet study, reading the reports, one by one. His eyes moved quickly, noting the pattern. The ships never entered Central Council space. They never hovered near military zones. They only appeared in places once connected to Terran systems, places Earth had helped build, fix, or protect. It was like a quiet message. We remember what we touched, and now they were checking in on what the galaxy had done with it. Cyril pulled up a map. Each ghost ship appearance was marked in pale blue. When connected by lines, they didn't form a path, they formed a net. He whispered to himself, they're watching the whole galaxy, without saying a word. Out among the stars, citizens began noticing the same signs. A passing freighter would suddenly lose signal for 5 seconds, then recover. A planetary weather satellite would catch a glimpse of a strange dark shape just outside range. A communication tower would go silent at night, then resume at dawn, leaving behind a strange Terran code on its screen. Echo recorded. No reply needed. The Council held another emergency meeting. Some demanded a response. Others said to remain quiet. They're not threatening us. Maybe this is their way of warning us gently, one ambassador said. But a warning for what? Another asked. No one had answers. Meanwhile, smaller species that had once looked to the Council now began whispering something new. What if Earth never really left? What if they just stepped back to see who we'd become without them? That question spread faster than any signal. People no longer asked when Earth would return. They asked whether the Council had ever deserved them in the first place. Back in the Illithor station, Elian noticed something new on his screen. The ghost ship that had hovered for days was gone, but it had left behind a message. Simple, clean. In every known language, it said, presence is not control. Absence is not weakness. Below that, one final line. Balance is a choice. Sorel received the same message through a private channel. No one knew how Earth had accessed the system. No one even remembered giving them permission. But the message arrived anyway, calm, direct, and undeniable. That night, Cyril stood on the tower balcony, watching the stars. In the darkness, small lights moved, faint, distant, quiet, Earth ships, drifting like shadows. Unseen by most, ignored by some, but always there. The Council had wanted Earth to return with speeches, promises, or demands. Instead, humanity had returned with something far more powerful, silence filled with purpose. And in that silence, the galaxy finally started to listen. A pale mist floated through the open gardens of Stellar Prime, the once proud heart of the Galactic Council. Tall towers glowed under the twilight, but the light felt dimmer than usual. Beneath that still sky, people no longer walked with purpose, they wandered. Traders waited for routes that no longer worked. Diplomats stood by silent halls. Engineers sat by machines they could no longer fix. The stars above still sparkled, but something was missing. Earth, not just its ships or its systems, but its presence. In a quiet chamber near the edge of the central city, Sorel stood alone, staring at a screen that had gone dark for the last 3 days. The Council had sent their final plea to Earth, this time not just with words, but with sincerity, a message filled with humility and hope. They admitted their failures, they accepted their mistakes, they promised respect, equality, and a fresh start. And now they waited again. But deep down, Sorel knew this wasn't just about an answer, it was about understanding then. On the 4th day, something unexpected happened. Every major relay station across Council space lit up at the exact same time. No warning, no signal, just a sudden burst of light across every Terran-linked device still active. One by one, holoscreens powered on, showing no faces, no logos, just a quiet, shifting pattern of stars. A human voice, calm, steady, and warm, began to speak in every known language, across every channel, every world, every ship. You asked for our return, but we never left. We chose distance, not disappearance. The voice paused, then continued. We built systems with care. We shared without demand. We gave without claiming, and when our presence was ignored, we stepped back. Not to punish, but to preserve what was left of who we are. Sorel leaned closer to the screen. The voice had no name, but every word felt deeply human. We watched as the galaxy stumbled, not in joy, but in quiet sadness. We hoped you would learn, not to fear us, not to depend on us, but to recognize the value of trust. The stars on the screen began to shift slowly, forming the shape of the Milky Way. Around its outer rim, glowing dots began to appear, hundreds of them. These are the new paths we walk. New worlds, new allies, beyond the old borders. Gasps echoed across council chambers. These were systems far beyond the known edge. Earth had not gone silent. They had simply moved on. We do not return to lead. We do not return to command. We do not return at all. The screen pulsed once, then dimmed slightly. Because this was never revenge. This was a choice. Then the final line came clearer than all the rest. Do not chase us. Become better without us. And just like that, the screens went dark. Again, no follow-up, no coordinates, no promises, just silence. But it was a different silence, now not the silence of anger or disappointment, but the kind that asks a question without using words. Across council space, the message changed everything. On a border world once torn by trade disputes, two species sat together without translators for the first time and spoke honestly. On a once dependent farming colony, engineers decided to learn the systems instead of waiting for Earth to fix them. Across hundreds of sectors, people began to remember what Earth had taught by example: humility, cooperation, and quiet strength. Cyril closed his screen gently. He didn't feel sorrow, he felt clarity. The galaxy didn't need Earth to return with fleets. It needed to remember why Earth had mattered in the first place. And perhaps one day, when enough time had passed, and enough change had grown, Earth might choose to speak again, but not because it was needed, because it was invited with understanding. High above, in the quiet sky beyond Stellar Prime, a single black dot moved across the stars, slow and steady. It made no sound, left no trail. It watched for a while, then it faded into the deep night, and still, the galaxy watched back.